They don't teach you finances. They don't teach you things in high school. You're kind of on your own and you're expected to know this stuff the minute you leave the house. Things aren't what they seem. Like marriage isn't easy and you got bills and you got struggles. And my ex-husband's parents actually paid for us to go to the seminar because they'd heard about this guy called Dave Ramsey. I am now one of his endorsed realtors. And I sat, I kid you not, for 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever the seminar was, at the edge of my seat, fully engaged, excited to hear, because we were behind on IRS debt because we make money, but then you don't keep the 30% you're supposed to save. Like
Sure.
crazy thought because you didn't know. And then he sat next to me this whole time, arms crossed, disengaged, didn't care. I left excited. He left, it was a waste of his time. Things unraveled and he walked out. And then I realized when he left, my world shattered. I had this moment and I went, I'm in charge of me now. So I can do this. And I got out of debt in, I think, 8 months.
What is your thought process during all of this? You have a mountain of debt. You have to go and close some deals in order to get paid.
I cried every day. And I remember looking out one of the windows in one of my dark days, and I looked out and the sun was beautiful. It was autumn. The leaves were beautiful. And I went, And I looked again. I went, if this is the worst it can get, I can handle it.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to the Buyers on Demand podcast. Today, it is an absolute honor to be here with Tammy Jo. She goes by TJ. She's got quite a story. She's an experienced real estate broker, Taekwondo instructor, real estate aficionado, marketing connoisseur. I mean, there's many labels that I can describe her. One thing that I think we're going to have a lot of fun with today is talking about some influences in your life, Tammy, in terms of how you transition to real estate, what has influenced you to become a real estate agent and then now broker, to lead a team, everything that you've learned. I'm really excited for this conversation. Just so that you're aware, TJ, or we'll call you Tammy, whatever works best. There you go. Just so that you're aware, I'll give a 30-second rundown in terms of why we created this podcast, and then I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. So, again, for any new listeners and for Tammy listening on the receiving end, we created this podcast, and I say we because I work with two other individuals. At first, we were media guys. So we were doing photo, video for real estate agents, and we're here in the Las Vegas Valley. So we did that for about 2.5 years-ish, until one of my fellow partners had 2 blood clots in his subclavian veins. And what that means is if he didn't get treatment for it and go under surgery, he would have unfortunately lost his life. And so once that happened, we were hit with the brunt news that we cannot continue physically doing media because he now is incapable of holding a camera and the weight of our equipment. And that led us to a huge transition from physical marketing with real estate agents to digital marketing on the computer. And what we found in the digital world is that there's a lot of secrets that are gatekept for some reason out there, where people will charge you money, they'll try to sell you leads that don't work, or aren't the best quality, and they'll try to hide all the secrets behind a paywall. And so the podcast here, and the intention here, is to give away as many secrets as possible, because we don't believe that any marketing tactics to help you further your career should be behind a paywall. So with that being said, that's a little bit about us and our podcast. TJ, for the audience, how would you describe yourself, your story, and how you came to be today?
I think that, like everybody else, stories are ever changing, always different. We talked a little earlier about the trials and tribulations that people go through. We always have that question of why me, why now? And looking back, because this is my 25th year in the business, I now see that it allowed me these different things that I've gone through to relate to people in a whole different level, a different understanding that I think is very real, and that I really care because I've probably been there or walked beside you at some point in my life, just as yours. And so, with me, I was actually really focused on art, painting, sculpting, things like that. Was accepted from high school into 4 different colleges. And my goal back then was, I'm just going to apply and then I'll let the schools weed me out as to where I go. So the one that accepts me, that's where I'll go. And then they all accepted me. Even our Kendall College of Art and Design. And it was funny as I was talking to a friend and like from like 25 years ago, she goes, "You were accepted to Kendall?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Why didn't you go? What a high honor." And I said, "I decided I didn't want art to be my goal. I didn't want to have it where I had to put myself and put my passion underneath a microscope of making money and making an income." And so I went into first veterinarian medicine, decided that my brain just not wired that way. No matter how hard I studied, I always got C's and D's. And the teachers liked me, so I got B's. And and then I switched after crying almost every day in college. I switched midstream to business, graduated on time, and I went, "What's this free time?" I never saw anything like that coming from the medical world. And then from college, I went, "Well, now that I'm graduating, what do I do?" And my story is that I'm a third generation builder daughter. It's what my grandfather did, it's what my father did, it's what I grew up knowing. And I loved people. And I think the difference, Sean, is that nowadays there are these TV shows like American Dream and HGTV and all these different things that people really engage in that has made real estate popular. It wasn't popular when I got into real estate. I just looked at it in this mindset of what do I like? What do I know? I have a business degree. I love people. I love houses. That seemed a logical next step. It's kind of in the genes. It's not where it was kind of like if you didn't make it as a doctor, if you didn't make it as an attorney, if you didn't make it for like these really good fields, okay, real estate's for you. I just went into it. So when I was graduating in 2001 from college, I went into real estate. And I've never done anything. I haven't done any, can't even speak English. Haven't done anything since. This is
Amazing.
all I've done. It's
Amazing.
my passion.
It's funny you say it's your passion because you mentioned at the very beginning when you were going to art school that you had this conflict in your mind between passion and income. And so I'm curious now you've been able to go through this hurdle of how do I actually make a living with something that I love. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it seems like you just gave kind of a breakthrough moment in what you were just discussing. That again, you went from I don't want to make art my career because I'm passionate about it to now you are doing something you love. Can you walk us through? Yeah,
I realize that I love helping people. That's my thing. And if I can make a difference in someone's life, that's my jam. I love being able to walk in and know how to take care of them, even though they may not know yet. And when they're changing home, like think about this. A person's home is typically the largest asset they have. And I feel sorry. This sounds bad. I feel sorry for the people that I served 25 years ago, having this 22-year-old kid help them buy and sell their first homes when I was having no idea what I was doing. But I was driven and I was going to take care of them the best way that I knew how then versus how I know now. And I remember, oh, probably 10, 15, no, probably 15 years ago, that a cousin stopped me. And he stopped over one day and he goes, "I could never do what you do." And I looked at him and I said, "What does that mean?" "I could never lie to people." And I said, "What are you talking about?" "I couldn't be sales breath with people to get them to buy." I said, "I don't think you understand what I do. I'm an advisor, I'm a coach, and I'm a professional, and I can sleep at night." And so I joke now that we have this little epiphany with you that I didn't want to use my passion to make money, but now I found another passion. So I have lots of passions. And now I paint in the morning. I have like an
I love it.
hour, maybe two, really early on a Saturday morning. So I am done by 9 a.m. And it was funny because one of my staff called me last week and he's like, "Hey, you got a minute?" I said, "Yeah, because you're in my quiet time." And he goes, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Well, it's before 9 on a Saturday. So it's my quiet time and I'm painting. So yes, I have time for you because I always make time for my people, but I know the phone doesn't usually ring until after 9." So yeah, it has been a real estate has been a blessing. And I always feel that with much is given, much is expected. I think that's one of those old proverbs.
Hmm.
And I was talking to one of my real estate coaches and I said, I think I have to make some more money this year. And he said, What's the why?
Hmm.
Why?" And I said, "Well, I need to do these things and I need more money to do that. So I have to serve more people. And in addition to all of these things that I'm working on, my sister's husband just passed away.
Hmm.
And I said, she has some extreme financial hardships. And I know that she can't cover these, but I could.
Hmm.
And so my why got bigger. So my brain has to grow and expand in order to fulfill more things that I want to achieve. Why? Because I'm serving people.
And for the audience, I really want to reel back for a second because I gave you a brief intro, but really that there's no brevity that really can suffice here because I know from my research, I'll say TJ 1.0. You know TJ 10.0, and the audience knows TJ 0.0. And so, why I want to back up because you're telling, us about how you want to help people and you're passionate, but for the audience sake, what I know about you is you're an Emmy nominated TV host, but more importantly, you have this plan for future where you have been actively for the past, what, 10, 15 years
Yeah, we took a
helping
break
this
since
community.
COVID, so it was about 5
Yep,
years before that. But an active, I saw a need. And I'm one of those people that if you see a problem, you don't expect somebody else to fix it. You start doing something.
sure. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is that you're
Yeah,
describing?
being in real estate,
Yep,
and back in the olden days, I started back when there was pagers. That's how old I've been in the the business. There's just a lot of paper all the time, a lot of paper. And now with programs, with AI, with dot loop, the paper production has decreased, but there is still a need. And so I said, well, why don't we take a mindset of saying, if I contribute $25 or $35 from every single closing and put it back to our city to put money into buying trees and greening our city, to re-put things back. And I said, how do I keep this relevant? Well, when's the last time you ordered from Amazon?
you guys. Yeah, if you're asking me, like
Uh-huh.
2 hours ago.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
when's the last time you ordered for Amazon? How many
yeah,
boxes do you have? Do you recycle those?
right.
I know I do. And I know that my generation is starting to, but I know that not everybody does. And the amount of waste that we as humans put out is absolutely sickening. So if I could make a small donation, say, hey, with every single customer that we serve, I can now start giving back and greening. And I'm actually meeting with some city officials to start seeing if we can start greening up, how I can help with greening up a corridor of Grand Rapids. That's a direction I want to take.
I
It's
love
about
it.
serving, it's about helping.
I love it, and thank you for adding that because I can tell when you're giving us this information about how you want to help and how you got into real estate to help. I'm putting the dots together in my head, but again, I'm working off the information that I have, the audience doesn't. So I'm glad you mentioned the plant for future. Now, the other thing that I'm putting together in my head as you're talking is I imagine because you again going back to your story, you mentioned art was the passion, but there was a conflict internally. You then switch. You have a business degree. You're kind of studying business administration in college, And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, well, why out of all the careers in business, why did she choose real estate? And it sounds like, you correct me if I'm wrong, you chose real estate because you saw that that is the most impactful thing that you could do for someone else, given the fact that you just mentioned owning a home
That's what it
was the
became,
biggest. Okay.
Sean. That's what it became for me. When you're when I was dumb and 22,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
know what to do. So I just realized that for me, I knew homes, I loved people. Let's put them together. And
Sure.
I used to have like my dad would draw at home on his like architectural renderings. He would
Hmm.
design houses. I would point things out. He'd show me what was wrong in it. So I had a mindset and being artistic
Hmm.
and being where I can take 3D objects in my head, cut them, slice them, turn them, change colors. Walking into a house is like an open palette to me. So having that skill set that most people are, brains are so wired so different. I'm very down the middle. So I can paint you a picture, but it better be straight on the wall
Sure.
because it will
Sure.
bother me if it's not
Yeah.
straight. So it's kind of an interesting blend, but very helpful in regards to going into a career that would
Yeah.
use that mindset of like, how do I decorate this? How do I do this? What do I do?
Sure. And also the attention to details, as you're mentioning, like, you want it to be straight on the wall. That serves you really well as a real estate agent, making sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and of course, the images look a certain way. So that totally makes sense. I'm going back to your story because there's so much that I can unpack here that I really want to share with this audience. You mentioned your dad with architectural rendering, so I won't say that you got into this career and have gone throughout your career completely unguided, but from the story that you paint online, that is the one of you, spending basically your last dollars to attend a Dave Ramsey seminar. It seems like, early in your career in your early 20s, you largely had this "what do I do" epiphany, where you were for the most part, a little bit unguided. Can you share your story about starting out, you being kind of lost in what to do and now coming into becoming a
You know,
thriving real estate agent?
I don't think that it's like when you go to college. Yes, you go to college to get a degree, but you go to college to really figure out life.
Totally.
You show up on time, you figure out your schedule, you're independent, you're now an adult, right? They don't teach you finances unless you go and become a CPA. They don't teach you things in high school. And unless your parents are teaching you how to run a checkbook, what to do, you're kind of on your own and you're expected to know this stuff the minute you leave the house, but there's no training involved. And so I was 26 when I got married. So, oh my goodness, 20 years ago, 21 years ago. This is crazy. Maybe this is not a good part of the show. I'm old.
We can,
So
yeah,
26, 20,
I was going to say, we can cut
21
it
years
out.
ago.
Yeah,
And you just like, I thought I was old because my mom got married when she was 19. So, like, oh, I got this in the bag. I'm a mature adult.
sure.
And then you get married and things aren't what they seem. Like, marriage isn't easy, and you got bills and you got struggles, and life just kind of implodes. And his parents, my ex husband's parents, actually paid for us to go to the seminar because they had heard about this guy called Dave Ramsey.
Mm.
I am now one of his endorsed realtors because I
Hmm.
believed in the teaching so much. And I sat, I kid you not, for 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever the seminar was, at the edge of my seat, fully engaged, excited to hear because we were behind on IRS debt because we make money, but then you don't keep the 30% you're supposed to save. Like
Sure.
crazy thought because you didn't
Sure.
know, or you really needed that item so you can always figure that out later, or life happens. And then he sat next to me this whole time, arms crossed, disengaged, didn't care. And you look at this and I left excited. He left, it was a waste of his time. Because how can you get ahead, he said, if you owe this much money to the government? You owed like 10 grand. And I looked at him and I said, didn't you hear what he said? You got a debt snowball. You got to save some money. You got to move some stuff around. And he's like, no, because no one's going to tell him how to spend money. And things unraveled and he walked out and life changed. And then I realized when he left, my world shattered. I had this moment and I went, "Huh, I'm in charge of me now. I'm in charge of me. So I can do this." And I got out of debt in, I think, 8 months, 12 months. I lived, I think Dave Ramsey calls it, he had tuna fish sandwiches every day. I can't stand the smell of tuna fish. I kid you not, it's my poor sandwich, but I still eat it today. It's like a quesadilla, like a tortilla shell with lunch meat in it and a pickle with ranch dressing. I had that every day for probably a year and a half. I did no restaurants, not like I just stopped. I just stopped. And my only focus was to be in charge again, to be in charge of my finances, to be in charge of me, and to figure things out. And I was so moved by it. I taught the class twice for Dave Ramsey's group, and then I paid for my entire family to go because now I had money saved so I could help people. And I remember I wanted it to be kind of like a girls' night, a women's night. So I invited my younger sisters. I have two of those. I invited my sister-in-law, I invited my mother, and my sister-in-law couldn't go because she had something. So she made my brother go because I had bought the ticket. And I will never forget sitting in like Van Andel, which is our big arena, with little Dave Ramsey down on the stage, and everybody's watching stuff. And I've already taught the class twice, and my family had no idea. And he asked for all the men to stand up. And I'm 6 foot, my brother's 6'4". So this big man stands up and Dave Ramsey goes, "Men, do your wives look like this?" And my brother's like, "Yeah, yeah," because he'd only been married for a year at the time. "Yeah, that's what she looks like. Oh yeah, yeah. Like she's mad all the time, man." And Dave Ramsey pats his pocket and he goes, "Well, men, $1,000. $1,000 in that pocket, and your wife's faces will start to relax." And my brother goes, "Oh, okay." Like, because he's a newly married man.
Sure.
Wife has expectations. And I will never forget, because Dave Ramsey talks about cutting up the credit cards, doing this. My brother leaves. He leaves, goes home. Hour later, my phone blows up. "What the heck did you do your brother? He came home and he wants to cut up our credit cards." And I said, "You might want to listen. Good luck." But that's me caring.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they were giving me updates. "Hey, we're doing this now. Hey, we're on this step now. Hey," and their focus changed because he realized $1,000 in the pocket can make a huge difference in attitude when you have a little cushion. So
So
that's why I've been endorsed and am so grateful that I can be a part of Dave Ramsey's network because I live it, I breathe it, and then I can share it.
that's an amazing story. And there's so many directions that I can take this, and so many thoughts that I have with what you just said. But the first thing that I'm thinking about in my head is like, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you a realtor during this time?
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I've
holy cow!
always
Like,
been a realtor.
right, because I remember you said that, and I'm like, in my head,
I've done
I'm like,
nothing else.
right. I remember you said that, and so I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, holy cow! Here's this lady who is, $10,000 in debt or more, and you're a realtor as well during this time. Like I'm just to my head, like processing it is like nightmare fuel because unlike you being in, maybe a regular job with a salary, like you are strictly commission, you have to go and not only fight this uphill battle to get over the mountain of debt that has been created maybe on your behalf or outside of your behalf, but also just to go and pay your bills. So it's like you're fighting kind of two fronts because you're commission only. And so, my first question for you, just during that time period, is to glance inside your mindset. Like, what is your thought process during all of this? Where you're like, holy cow, especially since you mentioned this story about the, your ex-husband leaving, you now have to figure stuff out, you now have to find a new home, you have a mountain of debt, you have to go and close some deals in order to get paid. How does someone navigate what seems like the world crumbling in front of them?
I cried every day. And I remember my aunt Jane, she gave me a devotional book called Streams in the Desert, and I wept every day, and I read that book. And then at some point of crying, and I remember crying, and then a client would call me, and I have to stop crying, and I'd go back and I hang up the phone, like I start crying again, and like it was just learning how to put your feet in front of each other, one step every day. And some days the sun felt sunnier, some days the moods were darker, but I would give myself 5 minutes of crying time, no matter when it hit. But then I had to stop it and shake it off and get back because I'm in charge. I'm in charge. And, you look at those moments and you don't think that you're a brave person at that time. You don't think that you're something special. You usually think the opposite. And I remember even going on dates for the first time after that, and my therapist going, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "I want to know that I'm interesting to talk to again. I want to know that people find me interesting because he didn't."
Mm.
And I I think that during those dark days, whenever you have a dark day, looking for a moment of grace and a moment of hope and just seeing a blessing every day, a blessing. And I remember looking out one of the windows in one of my dark days, and I looked out, and the sun was beautiful. It was autumn, the leaves were beautiful, and I went, huh. And I looked again, I went, if this is the worst it can get, I can handle it. And then I had like a silly moment where all the electricity went out in the house. And I went downstairs, and this was like a 1930s house. Went downstairs in the basement. There's like big breaker box. And mind you, I'm a realtor, right?
Mm.
Builder's daughter. And the breaker's out. But we also had a fuse box attached to the breaker. So like scary stuff. And the fuse box would give us problems. And I remember, okay, all right, can I get the breaker? But oh, that fuse box just made me so scared. Like it was just, and I said, okay, what's different? Yesterday I was married. Today I'm not. Yesterday, he would have yelled at me and said, well, you're the builder's daughter. Figure it out. I said, today, I'm simply not getting yelled at. Okay, we'll take it as a blessing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll figure it out. And I remember closing my eyes trying to take the fuse out because it scared me. But it's seeing those blessings every day, even if it's just the sunshine. And I love peanut M&Ms. So I kept a 5-pound bag in, in my cupboard in my kitchen. And I had a couple of verses around the house at where I would stand when I was having my dark, like Jeremiah 29:11, a couple other ones I liked from some actresses. And when I was having like one of those really bad moments, my brain would trip and go, yeah, but you got peanut M&Ms. And I would get all happy because I would keep them hidden. So they weren't in sight, but when I
Mm.
needed them most, it would pop in my brain. And those little tiny little moments of blessings, as I call them, were I think what got me through. And my mom calling me every day to check on me and just those kind of things. Things that
It-
people do that you're not, I don't know. It's not anything special. It's just how do you navigate this?
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up because I feel very similarly to what you just described about having that little trinket or little something, little treat, surprise, little reward. For me personally, like I'm a big fan, and it's funny because it's the seemingly like uninteresting stuff that for whatever reason can be really interesting. For me, I love like office equipment stuff when it comes to desk, computer, keyboard, whatever the case is, lights and whatnot. And I feel the same way about the office that I have now, the desk that I have, because for a while, like I didn't like how everything was positioned, me sitting all the time. I always wanted a standing desk, but I also wanted like a treadmill under the standing desk. And so some days when I am having like a uh, kind of a darker day or a sadder day, I'm like, well, at least I'm not depressed sitting in like the old, office like how it used to be. So it's just funny that you bring up that story because I'm like, I totally get that actually. Like something super small and just the change of a desk
It's a
can
treat. It's
can
a
be a treat.
reward. Hey, you made
Totally.
it through the day. Here's a couple peanut
Yeah.
M&Ms.
Yeah. Your story is so interesting because of, well, I mean, I'll explain more maybe off camera, but there's a lot that hits home for people that are close to me. So very similar kind of circumstances to what you're describing. And so I like as I'm seeing you kind of recount this, I'm also recounting similar
It's been a
stories.
while since I've recounted
Yeah,
it, so it's,
um, yeah. It's I'm glad you were able to share that. My question for you regarding this is for the realtor out there that is just starting and they are trying to figure out where do I even step? Where do I even put my first step forward? Where like this is a very scary career for most people's first time ever getting into commission only, and the one way that you can get commission is through someone's biggest purchase of their entire life. Like that's a very scary hurdle for a lot of people to overcome. And so, what advice do you give for the person starting out to put one foot in front of the other?
so it's a great question. And I was talking to myself the other day because I do that often. If I had only known what I know now, where I could be at this business, you know what I mean? Like you talk to yourself in these ways. If I had known this back then, well, I didn't because it probably wasn't invented yet. But my entire business has been run on one principle. That's it. If I take care of people, God takes care of me. That has been the only principle that I have worked from my entire career. And it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, an engineer, or you work at Wendy's. You will have the same level of service from me, the same level of service from me. I'm not going to judge you based on how you wear, what you look like, if you have red hair, tattoo. It doesn't matter to me. You will have the same level of service. And I remember making very certain moments of meeting new customers, of going, it's a blizzard outside. It's 2 degrees. I'm meeting a stranger at this house. They probably won't even buy it because the chance of them buying and this person they see is so rare anyway. Nope. Go do your job. And those people ended up turning into one of my largest clients because they also had 10 siblings.
Mm,
And she liked that I was so direct. And this is 15, 16 years ago, that it was a breath of fresh air because she could see past sales breath. And the difference is that what people don't realize, if you're brand new getting into this career costs money. This is not what you think it is. It is not HGTV. You're going to probably have $5,000 to $10,000 getting into this career. So you need to have saved up at least double that, or
hmm
at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses before you quit your job. And I recommend making sure you continue your job while you get into real estate, get a feel for it, and to see how it's going. Because if you can't dip that toe in the water and you can't jump in full time, this will eat you up and spit you out. I
mm,
think there's a 95% dropout rate the first 2 years. It is massive, and people don't. One of my own family members. All right, I want to get into real estate. I said, great. How much money you got saved up? And they're like, what? I said, how much money do you have saved up? Because you're the breadwinner of the family. And how many kids do you have? 3. Yep. And do you want to be gone every night? Well, no, I got games and this. I said, then real estate's probably not going to be a good fit for you. Because if you're expected to be at all those functions and you want to be at all those functions, guess when people want to see houses? So my advice is start smart. Make sure that if you are already in the career and want to move out, if you've got the savings for it, hey, I got 3 to 6 months, you're going to have at least 2 to 3 months before you get your first paycheck, period. Have money put aside before you start taking that step, or work at tandemly. I worked in a nursing home as a receptionist for my first year. On weekends was the only job I could get that only wanted part-time, so the days that were good for open houses, the days that were good for, I couldn't work weekends. I had to be at sitting down in this nursing home. But it gave me 5 days I could work hard. And then have the mindset be that you are in a service industry. Your job is to take care of people the right way. If you don't know, don't BS them. Find out. And I love ChatGPT. Don't ChatGPT them. Find out. Because they probably already did that before they came and meet you.
Totally. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned ChatGPT because I just saw a video a couple days ago where someone tried to sell their house using ChatGPT. Turns out that the price that they sold it for was like $20,000 less than if they would have used a
Oh,
realtor. But
all the
um,
time.
totally.
It's when Zillow first came out, I was one of their first people signed up because I saw where real estate was going. And I laughed because I would go to a customer's house and they're like, well, Zillow said this. And I said, really? Well, when does Zillow tour?
Yeah,
When did they do a tour of your home? Because I didn't see their footprints. Did they know that the bathroom was falling apart? Did they see this? Did they know the roof was bad, or were they comparing it against another property that you have no idea what they're looking at? And then people actually then had a perspective of going, oh, they really haven't been here. It's a range.
and that's the value that you provide.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Speaking about the value that you provide, you have so much marketing experience under your belt. Like I can't really even think about the process to become a Emmy nominated TV host, especially like starting out as a new realtor. Can you tell us a little bit about not only just like how you were able to become an American Dream TV host, but also when you're starting out in real estate, because you mentioned there's two questions here because I think that they kind of lead to one another. One is the story of how you became a TV host, but the second is you mentioned that you were doing this nursing home on the weekends and you were working super hard Monday to Friday. What were you working on? How did you generate leads? How did you generate business? And I'm assuming that translated to TV at some point, but
Okay.
you tell
What do
us.
you want me to answer first?
Whatever works for you. I think that they might be correlated, but maybe they're not. So if they're separate, you can go.
Um,
Yeah.
well, in regards to real estate, in regards to how to even start in this business,
Yeah.
I'm actually getting pushed out of my comfort zone from a coach that is having me give out 20 business cards a day to strangers. Now, you could look at that and nod and go, okay, cool. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And having built this business, they always said, okay, Tammy Jo, when you can get in like a good 5 years, 7 years, that's when the referrals start coming in because now they're ready to sell a house, buy another house. Oh, cool. If I can just get to that 7 year mark, then good. Well, no, not really, because there's always a moving target. If. So yes, you want to take care of your people really well. Yes, it's in the follow up. Get their birthdays, follow up. And people, I was 22. I think that I would have done better having been a little older to know what that really meant for a business. I mean, I kept their information. I would follow up, but not that great. But I still kept it. But be consistent in your follow ups. Check in with them. You're not bothering. They just want to know that they still matter to you. That's all it is. And this new exercise that I'm being told, I have to say, I have never been one to be, hey, I'm going to a party and everybody in that room's going to know that I'm a realtor. I'm not salesy like that at all. At all. I still do a ton of business. And this has pushed me into another level of saying, well, why don't they know I'm a realtor? And so I'm hitting our Myers, I'm hitting places I can meet people. And I had, right after the class, I went, you want me to do what? I had to stop at the grocery store. Had to stop at the grocery store. And the question is this, ready? If you were to buy or sell a house, do you have a realtor you would refer to? That's it. That's it. The answer is going to be what? Yes, no, or with a delay, which means they don't. So there's 3 answers. I don't know. So yes, no, or I don't know. And I tell them, that's great. No matter what they tell me, that's great. Here's my card so I can do my job and get it off my list. And somebody even said, hey, we'll just leave the stack of cards somewhere and, leave them alone. I said, I don't cheat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Well,
we're about where ethics here. If I'm given an assignment, I'm going to get my assignment done. And this has opened up. So I stop at the grocery store and I went and I walk in for the first time. This is last week, Wednesday. I walk in for the first time into Aldi's and I go, whoo, there's a lot of people in here. And I kind of like sweated a little bit. I went, I don't know if I can do this. I got to get home. And I argued with myself the entire walk, all the way through for the items I had to get till I got to the cashier. And I recognized her because she's helped me once before. And I gave her my spiel because I had to make one. And I had to make one that was not based on me feeling like I was being salesy. Does that
hmm
make sense?
hmm
And I said to her, Mag, take 30 seconds of your time while you're checking me out. She goes, sure. I said, I have been in real estate for 25 years. My coach, because I blamed him, my coach is making me talk to 20 new people a day. And her face went, oh, that's awful. And I said, I know, tell me. Here's my question. And I asked the question of if you buy or if you sold, do you have a realtor? She goes, no. I said, would you? Then I took it a step further because now I'm talking. I said, here's my card. She goes, thank you. I said, would you like me to stay in touch? She goes, absolutely. I think my son will need your help. And I
Mm.
took a step back and I went, what? And this game got a whole new interesting. My first person I talked to. 100 cards last week, starting on this one this week. And so here's my advice for all the newbies. Start with that. Can you imagine where I would be at? I already have a huge, amazing business of where I serve people. Can you imagine where I would be at if I actually used the cards that were printed, not just with mailers and doing things? It doesn't cost any money, but it takes some grit.
I want to stick on this point for a second because it's the most unique. I was going to say unconventional, really, maybe that's not the right word. The most unique approach that I've heard so far because we live in such a digital age. And so when I'm asking questions about like, do you have any tips for, newer realtors that are trying to generate business? I'm thinking about 4 ways. You're either going to cold call them, you're either going to do open houses, you're either going to do content, or you're going to run ads. But you just gave me the fifth one, which is to go and actually talk. You're basically doing like cold outreach in person. And what's interesting about this, and what I love about talking about marketing, is that everything really just comes down to one simple fundamental truth, which is if you can have more conversations, you will have more business. And so there's different ways to do it.
Yep.
And I think that it's so fascinating that you are doing this approach that is solely physical in a digital age where everyone's focused on DMing people and messaging people. You're actually going out and giving physical business cards, which most people say don't even work, and yet here you are, with this story on your first attempt.
So here's
So
something funny. I handed out 100 business cards in 7 days. I have 21 people that want me to stay in touch. Other ones that said, I'll keep your card. And I even said to them, Look, I heard that you have a realtor. Can I be your backup? And they went, what? I said, your realtor may retire, change jobs, move out of state. Can I be your backup? Keep me in, I call it keep a TJ in your pocket. Keep a TJ in your pocket. One of my clients came up with that.
Yeah.
She's like, I love having a TJ in my pocket. I said, what does that mean? She goes, whenever I have a question, need a contractor, got a question about something weird, need a lawyer for real estate because someone's not being nut. She's like, I just call you. You have everything. It's like a TJ in my pocket. So I tell them, keep me in your pocket. So that is and here it is, an old fart with a whole new skill. And my husband is now laughing his butt off. He's like, I think I may just drop you off at happy hour.
Yeah.
And I went, yeah, but I don't really drink. He goes, oh, I got to worry about guys picking you up. He goes, but you would do great, honey, at a happy hour. That's what that's for. So now he's even thinking about where to slip me.
That's
But
hilarious.
that's that mentality, is that now my mentality is, oh, I have to go talk to some people today.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's, here I am, old dog. I don't want to say new tricks. It's not a trick, but
Mm-hmm.
it's forcing me to get out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And people that I see, new people, they're just friends I haven't met yet. But even I, with my experience, got really nervous walking through that grocery store for my first round. And every time I started, well, oh, here I go. And then after a couple, like, all right, let's go talk to people.
That's how it is. That's exactly how it's been in my experience. I've found this when we're talking about just conversations like this. There was a period. There was a period of time. Um, I want to say it was like my last year of college. So I graduated college 2 years ago, and my last year of college, I saw this TED talk that really kind of like changed my outlook on life, and it was uh, basically it's called A Year of Yes. Have you ever heard of it?
What is it called?
It's called A Year of Yes. He wrote a
Okay.
book about it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I can't remember what the presenter's name was, but pretty famous now. And the basic premise of the presentation is this dude was super depressed, alone. He had basically lost everything, and everyone, all of his friends turned kind of former friends. They would invite him to stuff, but he was so depressed that he would just keep saying no. Like, hey, you want to hang out? Do you want to hang out? No, no, no. I'm blah blah. And this guy's like, okay, well, if I want to get out of this rut, I need to start working on business stuff or try to develop myself. So anything else that tries to get in my way, I'm just going to say no to. And what ultimately happened was this dude just became more and more and more alone because he kept saying no.
He
And
used it
so
as an excuse.
he went on this year of yes, where every day he would go out and he would have like a conversation or just do something that made him like a little bit uncomfortable. And he would always say yes to any opportunity that came his way. And because the reason why he would try to do something uncomfortable is because he found that every time he'd have a conversation, a new opportunity would appear. Same thing that I experience now with this podcast. Like when we talk to any realtor, there's always, even us talking to you, like I talked to Alex, and after our conversation, she was like, hey, you should talk to TJ. And so I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. This guy experienced the same thing. Every time we'd have a conversation, someone would say, hey, you should do this, this, and this. So he went on this year of yes, and he completely changed his life. And he has this huge book that he presents at the TED Talk, where he like travels the world and he does all these cool things because every day he would just go out and do something uncomfortable and say yes to anything new that came about it. And so, kind of to your point about like when you go out, you're handing these business cards. The first one's really painful, but then afterwards, it's like, okay, well, I just did it there. I'm going to do it again. And then again, and again, it gets a little bit easier. And then after the day's over, you start to realize, oh, well, I talked to 20 people and now I have maybe 5 new opportunities elsewhere, whether in a sales scenario or just outside of sales, just for friends or whatever. So, I mean, I love this conversation.
I
This,
think
this
that
yeah.
one of my most interesting ones was I was at Lowe's. I had to get rid of business cards. And I stopped a couple. And she goes, oh, no, I'm not interested. I'm in from out of state visiting. And he goes, oh, I've got a realtor out of state. And I paused and I said, "Oh, so you don't live here either?" He goes, "No, no, no. I got a really good friend who lives in New York who's a realtor. So when I'm ready, I'm going to talk to her to see who she recommends here." Because he knows how
Yeah,
real estate works.
yeah, yeah.
And I said, "Great. Who is she?" "Oh, yeah, she's with Keller Williams." I said, "I am too." "Oh, she's probably at family." "Yeah, you had her speak." I said, "Great. What's her name? I'd love to reach out to her because I'm working on building an agent referral network around the country." And guess who reached out to me within an hour of meeting him at Lowe's? She did. She wants to set up a time to talk on Zoom, do a quick interview, talk back and forth. Because why? Now I'll be her Grand Rapids agent. So when he's ready to sell, she'll refer him to me and I can refer customers out to New York to her area. All from a conversation at Lowe's. Who would have thunk?
So such a great conversation that we're having. Again, I mean, it all comes down to conversations, and like you said, like you, who knows where you would have been if you just actually did some of it when you first started. And I think what I've experienced, this is very similar to content, and I'm switching gears a little bit, but you'll see a parallel pretty quickly. I see this a lot with agents for myself, even at times, but mostly with real estate agents because your job is to sell real estate, talk to people, not to create content, right? And so a lot of people are like,
I do a lot of
okay,
content. I don't
I'm gonna
know.
say it again.
I do a lot of content. I don't know.
Oh, well, yes, you are one of the few in the minority, which is great. What I'm saying though is I talk to a lot of realtors where similar to the thing that you're saying about conversations, like who would have known what would happen if you actually did it? Same thing with content, where these realtors I'll talk to, even like our conversation now, where you've probably given me 100 different pieces of really good content that could connect with an audience that we would have never known if we didn't have a conversation or just taken one step forward. Going back to your thing with Dave Ramsey, and so I see this a lot because I talk to a lot of realtors where I don't know if you've ever seen the picture, but there's a picture, pretty famous picture. I'm giving you like a lot of references here, but it's a miner, and he's mining for diamonds, and it's kind of like a time lapse picture. So you see that he's been mining for diamonds for like 16 hours, and he gets super tired, and so he stops. And the moment that he stops, like where his pickaxe is, there's one little sliver left of dirt, and the diamonds on the other side. And so the meaning of the whole picture is like you wouldn't like if you wouldn't have stopped, you would have gone to the dreams that you were trying to search for in the first place. But because you stopped, you never got to it. And so to your point about the conversations, it's you you would have never known that you could have a conversation at Lowe's that could turn into a referral network if you just took one step forward, you know?
You
So,
never know the possibilities if you don't give it the effort and the time it takes to do it.
yep.
And if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. So I remember one of my previous coaches, she goes, we always work on real estate. I want to do something big for your personal life. And I said, okay, sure. What you got? I'm up for a challenge. I like stuff. She goes, I want you to run a marathon. I went, no. She goes, no. And she brought it up the next week. I want you to run a marathon. No. No interest in running. No interest in that. Never ran a race in my life. My last race was in high school, but 1994, when we have to, do that run a mile, I think it is, to prove that
Hmm.
you're in shape.
Hmm. Yep.
That was the last time I ran something. And she asked me again and asked me again. And I turned to my husband and I said, babe, can you just tell me no? And he goes, no, you're too busy. We got this going on. We just bought this huge investment property. No, 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 no. So great. Perfect. That's what I needed. I started writing it up in a text. I'm so sorry. I would love to, but I really don't have any interest in doing it. And I can't. I can't because, and I started getting all my reasons why I can't. Got this beautiful thing, punctuated it right, made it look pretty. Then I said to my husband, can I read it one more time to you, make sure that it's done properly? He's really good with words. I read it halfway through and he stops me and he goes, well, why aren't you doing this? And I turn to him and I go, did you not hear what I just read? Let me read it again. And he stops and goes, you know what, honey, I think you should. I said, excuse me? He goes, I think you should. He goes, you're taking care of everybody else so much, you don't do anything for yourself anymore.
Mm.
And I went, delete, delete, delete. And I started to cry, delete. And I went, okay. And that was the hardest thing that I have physically ever done. I didn't have trainers. And it was funny because he said to me, I said, honey, you understand, like, this is a couple nights later, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Like, when am I going to run? When am I going to do this? I have to start getting up earlier. I have to get up at 5 a.m. in order to have time to run before I have to get the kid to school. Like, this is a major life change. And he goes, what are you talking about? This isn't a big deal. And I said, it's 26.2 miles. I don't know about you, but that's a lot. And he goes, no, it's not. And he gets on. I said, he's my researcher. I said, fine, babe, just research it. You let me know. He gets on the iPad. And then he's not just laughing at me like, you're wrong. Like, here you go. Here's your proof. Keeps doing it. And he turns, he goes, you're screwed. But I know. And in 5 months, I got ready for a marathon. And the only thing that carried me through, there's two things that carried me through. One, I had a friend who was so depressed that she admitted that she was so depressed that I told her I would call her every morning to make sure she got out of bed. And she goes, okay, that'd be great. I said, good, it's going to be at 5 a.m. And I will talk to you when I'm on my run. And at 5 a.m., I couldn't sleep in. I couldn't say I was tired because now she was depending on me.
Yeah, that's your accountability partner.
It was my account without even knowing I did it. It was
Yeah.
my accountability partner.
Yeah.
And then number two is I had a printed calendar on the wall, like on the door to my garage,
Mm-hmm.
that I wrote down every mile I ran every day. And it took me 2 weeks to get my first mile done. It was so hard for me. 2 weeks. And every day I write down 5 miles, 5 miles, 5 miles. Now I'm at 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I started to get the big ones on the weekend, Sunday morning at 5 a.m. was my big run. So I had to go to bed on Saturday by 9. I had to make a shift that I had to go to bed by a certain time in order to get my butt out of bed by 5. And on the road by 5:30, and my dog went with me. So he and I got in shape together. And the only thing that carried me through on that whole venture was that I hit my first 10 miles for a run, and I put 10 miles on that Sunday morning. And the next week I had to beat it by 2 miles because I figured if I could get to 20, then I'd be okay for 26 because I was stupid. I should have gone to like 22. But when I didn't think I could make it, and this is applying to anything that you do, real estate, whatever you're doing, I didn't think I could make it. I looked at the week before. Well, I did it the week before, and now I'm only doing 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being at a Christmas party, not drinking because I had to get up the next morning, leaving at 8:30 so I could be in bed at 9, talking to a friend of mine who was an avid runner. And I said, yeah, I'm up to 20 miles tomorrow. And she goes, what? I said, what do you mean, what? I have to do it because I did 18 before. And she goes, well, my maximum's 12. And I said, what? What do you mean your max is 12? She ran every day. This is like her favorite thing to do. I hate it. And it's her favorite thing to do. And her max is 12? And she goes, how are you doing 20? And I said, because I did 18 the week before. I have to keep going. It never occurred to me, Sean, that there would be a limit. Why? Why did it never occur to me? Because I wasn't Googling about it. I wasn't talking myself down. I had an accountability partner to make sure I got my butt out of bed at 5 a.m. And every day, my only goal was what? To do just a little bit better. Do you play video games?
I used to. I used to. Yes.
My favorite was Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Love Mario Kart. And my favorite is that ghost challenge where you can challenge your last
Oh
lap
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
race
yeah.
yourself.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's
See who
how
can
I
get
do
better time.
business. I don't care what all the muckamucka's doing. I want to see what I'm doing and how am I comparing to how I did before and how can I do just a little bit better.
See, now that is awesome. First off, awesome story. What happened, by the way, before I even get into the segue
I
with
did
the
not die.
awesome. Well, there you go. There you go.
I did it in, see, my numbers are fuzzy. I think I did it in 5 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
So I walked a little bit and I cried. I think that last mile when people were cheering, I wept because I couldn't believe I had finally done it. And that I was at the Disney one. I didn't even know we got medals. I then cried when I got my medal. And that medal is in my bedroom, like hanging on one of the drapes. Just so that when I'm down, I go, I did that. I did that.
Yeah.
And I've never done a race since. I've never done one before. And I didn't even know that's unusual because it wasn't until I was on the bus going to get all the stuff for the running when all the runners are talking to the runners and doing all the running things. Yeah, did you do what have you done? You done this one? I'm like, no. Did you do this one? No. Well, have you done some 5Ks? No. Do you do a half marathon? Because people usually do half marathon. No. What? What do you mean? What? I didn't even know it's unusual. Because I didn't have anything to compare it against.
I love that. I love that. That's the only thing when I am
Holding people back.
totally when I'm bringing it back to content, and then we'll go to that again because I want to stick on that story. When I think about again in the marketing lens of this, that's the only thing I think about when I'm creating content. If I'm doing any advertisements, it's just how can I make it better? How can I increase the quality of the video? How can I have people watch just a little bit longer? Because one thing that's really helped me, because I know a lot of realtors struggle with this. A lot of realtors will look at uh, external metrics like followers, likes, views, shares, etc. And I was just talking with a realtor yesterday, and he was like, my goal is to get to X amount of followers. I used to, when I first started on social media, I used to have similar thoughts, but what actually has helped me has never been that the external metrics. It's always been how can I make the next video better than the last and keep doing it, because that's really like that has propelled me more than thinking about a external follower count or whatever this metric is just keep going, don't stop, and get better each time. And I think that is like the golden rule when it comes to creating content online, and of course when it comes to personal development like you're saying.
You want to
So
know my
I
trick?
love that. Yeah, go
I don't
ahead.
watch a thing I do.
There you go. Same thing, same here. Like I create it, I have my thoughts and opinions on it, post it, review it, on my own time, and then try to do it better the next time. Yeah,
I do
100%.
mornings with TJ every morning. And I was really taken aback when I was negotiating a contract with a realtor last week. And he goes, I'm sorry I'm a little bit, casual with you. And I said, what? He goes, well, I follow you. I love your walks. You're just a blat. And I'm like, you follow me? Like it just took me back. He goes, I just feel like I know you and I know what's going on and what you're doing and what's happening. And I
That's
went,
awesome.
oh, well, thank you.
That's
I wouldn't
awesome.
watch me, but thank you.
Yeah, and that's it right there. Like it's not about trying to go super viral or trying to be famous, whatever. Try to be an influencer, And I say all this because these are all things that I hear every day with realtors. It's like how can I do X, Y, and Z? It's like no, how can I like what you've done, and this goes back to you saying that people call you direct, as well as what you were telling in your previous story earlier about just being more direct with clients or referrals or whatever. I think the real goal is how can I make my social media persona as closely similar to my real life persona as possible. And so like you talking about you doing your morning walks, you're just posting stuff every single day just about you, it's like you, because of that, basically had gained a fan who had done business with you, and they felt like they knew you versus you trying to do, whatever gimmicky stuff,
And I'm
online.
a working mom, so
Yeah,
there are so many components, and my husband and I are testing for our fourth degree black belts coming up in a couple of
yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
So master instructor level, no stress at all on that one. That was sarcasm. And I think one of my posts was a couple of my posts were in the morning, I'm
yeah,
wearing this ugly white hat with like a skeleton on it.
yep,
And I'm going, well, clearly my kids don't know where they put my hats. They don't know, they've never seen my hat. They don't know where my hat is. They can't find my hat, nor do they care. And I'm stuck with this hat for the rest of the season. So, like, that was my post.
yeah, yeah,
And or my dog walking or what's going on, or I'll pop in real estate into it. It's what's on my brain at the time. And I, I've been doing this, I think I'm going on my fourth year of doing them. And the ones that are really fun, I'm now saving. And there's one that, I mean, it's just being authentic. And I think that is my hair sometimes, this sounds bad. My hair sometimes isn't even brushed because it's 5 in the morning.
yeah, 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 yeah,
There's no makeup. There's no, like, there's nothing. And I think that people just want genuine.
totally. Especially in the world that we're in now with AI and everything. Yeah,
Well, they
it's like,
question it. I mean, I
yeah,
even I was sending out invites. We do events a few times a year for our customers. And, we're taking everybody out to the movies. We're gonna go see in a couple weeks Mario Brothers because hello, it's Mario
yeah,
Brothers.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
First
was on
movie
the
was great.
original one, so I'm
Yeah, yeah,
super
yeah,
excited.
yeah.
And I had one of my past clients text me back and say stop, and I went what? Because usually they all turn friends. So I
Yeah.
wrote back. I said, "Are you sure you don't want me to keep in touch?" And they wrote back again. I'm like, "Oh, so sorry, TJ. We thought this was like an AI bot." And I
Mm,
said, "Nope, all thumbs here. I'm trying
yeah,
because they're assuming it's not a real person anymore."
yeah, yeah. That's super common now. Super common.
Yeah. I mean, I question it.
Especially with content now. Like you'll as I'm scrolling on my feed, I'll see a video that goes viral for whatever reason, even if it's real estate related or not. And the first thing that like the top comment says is this AI? Can someone confirm? It's just like it's crazy that
I I post and then I'm out.
yeah,
I post and I'm out. And my husband, well, here's something. My husband's name is Max. We go by TJ Maxx.
that's great. I was about to make that correlation too. That's
Someone
great.
said to me the other day, they said, TJ, she goes, you and Max couldn't even get divorced because the name doesn't
Yeah,
allow it.
yeah,
TJ and Max have to go together.
totally.
And I'm trying to think of how the post was or whatever, but he said, honey, you've got to see this post. And I'm kind of, babe, I really don't care. And he knows I love Superman, like Christopher Reeves, one of my
Yeah,
favorites. It was my
yeah, yeah.
favorite growing up since I was a little girl. And it was a Christopher Reeves AI generated with him doing a dance. It was hilarious, and I laughed. And then I turned to him. I said, how's the family feel about this? He goes, well, it's AI generated. I said,
Mm,
how's the family feel? They're taking his likeness.
yeah,
How does the family feel? Is that okay for them to do that?
yeah.
He goes, you're no fun. I said, I'm just asking. Just asking for
No,
a
it's true.
friend.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, we're definitely diving into uncharted territory with this stuff, where deep fakes and all that stuff. So yeah, going back to your point about being as authentic as possible, I think that is unfortunately one of your great separators. Of being just like, and I say unfortunately just because people are becoming more and more attached to the digital world, and so you are becoming more and more attached to the physical. So I love that, and
I think it's all this SEO, Google ranking, AI, Chat GPT rank, like all of that is just, but it's how people search.
yeah,
I mean, I have an 86-year-old I take care of, and she is livid that she cannot get a phone book. livid. And that started getting phased out in 2005 when people said, well, yeah, I can search for contacts online. And then it took another jump. You know what the next jump was? Reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's going to read a review if it's not from a friend of theirs? Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because you as a consumer have nothing to lose about writing an honest review
Yep.
that I as a consumer can then read and say, yes, I agree with that stance. Or I'm not going to buy that product based upon your experience. So you look at these jumps in advertising and marketing and how the brain works and operates. You know, I hate giving Amazon money, but I hate to shop.
Yeah.
I hate to shop more if I do giving Amazon money
Yeah.
because I'd rather have the convenience. So you
Totally.
have to be where people are. And right now, it's giving out business cards. How simple. So I threw a fifth one at you because the other ones, I don't know if they worked as well.
Now we're running towards the end of this episode, but I want to ask one question regarding that, TJ. Do you have any advice or tips for how to create an effective business card? And I'll preface that by saying what one that's really popular right now are those dot cards. They're titanium. Someone taps their phone and it basically transfers the contact details from the physical to the digital. Now, other people have like QR codes on their business cards. Other people have a picture of their face. There are many ways to present a business card. What tips do you have?
I have an old school one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would probably be better as I'm now ramping how this works and incorporating even, the TV show stuff into my advertising on the card
Mm-hmm.
of putting a QR code on it
Mm-hmm.
that they could just scan and then it uploads. And the biggest thing for realtors is that when a name goes in, I want the company to say realtor. I don't want it to say TJ Holmes when they pull it up because if you're like me, oh yeah, I met this really cool lady. I loved her. And most people remember TJ, but if it's a name like, I don't want to say this, but like a Jennifer, like more common names, it may just be like, oh, it's a great name and you don't remember it.
Yep.
So, but if you can have it be saved as realtor in your phone, it has always been my trick. I can tell them and train them of just saying, hey, when you need a realtor, just type realtor in your phone. I'll be right there for you.
There you go. Yep.
I'll be there for you. Just type realtor in your phone and I'll come up. So
Nice.
it's kind of that mindset of the training aspect of it, but also probably combining that now with a QR code. And I also learned something out that when you can tap phones that are face to face,
Yeah.
contacts will exchange. So you may not even need those titanium ones anymore. But it's how it's programmed in the phone that's going to make a difference.
I love it. I love it. TJ, we are running towards the last few moments of the episode. Do you have anything that you want to share for the audience on things that you're working? Because we're gonna have to do, by the way, we're gonna have to do a follow-up episode because we didn't even get to touch on the team that you lead. We didn't get to really touch on AGTV or ADTV that much. Is there anything that you want to provide for the audience listening for what you got coming up? Any projects you're working on? Anything in
Oh,
the
I always have something going on.
I can tell.
I I love being a TV host. Um, I think it gives me another platform that I can help people is what it comes down to. And unlike a lot of hosts that have focused on properties and things or events, I've been focusing on nonprofits in our area because I feel that I can give them a platform that they may not have access to otherwise. And they can get so much content. 4 hours of filming goes into 6, 7 minutes of a show. And so, or a segment of a show. And that's a lot of content that even the show doesn't use that they could have access to build them up. And yesterday I just shot Kent County Animal Shelter. Uh, that was hard for me because I personally can't save every single one in there. But to see the organization and how it's grown since my last experience wasn't pleasant about 15 years ago has been really pleasant to see. And I'm
Mhm.
looking about how to partner with them to get them more exposure. And because it's going to take 8 weeks to even broadcast, get it all through production and to broadcast and for us to push it, those animals may not be there anymore. We did B-roll with my extra film girl
Mhm.
and did B-roll with another 4 or 5 animals that we can start pushing on social media to say, "Hey, can we help find them homes in time?"
Mhm.
So that's a whole new thing that I'm working on. And then my husband and I and my family are working on saving a historic home in Grand Rapids. We're on going on year 5 of it. So that's been a very interesting battle. Very interesting battle. And yeah, there's just yeah. And I wrote a small book. I'm working about seeing if I can get it published and just working on some fun
Amazing.
things, fun projects.
Amazing. Well, hopefully the next time that we talk, I think I'd love to talk soon, but hopefully you'll be able to share a little bit more about that book that you got coming up. So
Well,
awesome. Yeah.
I have to still get the published one of my like there it's I
Yeah,
made it for my 86-year-old friend and it's people have been asking me to get this one published. So we'll see how it goes.
we'll see. We'll see. But I'm sure you'll have more updates for us. So awesome. TJ, thank you so much for your time. It's been an awesome conversation.
Oh, thank you,
Again,
Sean.
I think we should definitely do a follow up because
Okay.
there's more to the story than just what we've heard today. So
Oh,
I
I would be
appreciate your time.
honored. Thank you.
Thank you. And everyone listening, thank you for tuning in to the Buyers on Demand podcast. I'm your host, Sean Stewart, here today with TJ, and thank you. All right.
See you next time.